This week on Security Decoded, cyber attacks are now our #1 priority. We'll also talk about RSA conference and all the articles that came out of that. The latest exploits, and yep, Java has a new one, malware, Bitcoin, Firefox OS, and much, much more. And welcome to this week's episode of Security Decoded. I'm here with Mike and John, and it's good to be in the studio this week, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
A couple weeks we haven't been in the studio.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. What did we think of the Skype session we did for our last episode?
Well, it needs some improvement, but actually it's kind of easy to do it. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was nice that we could still do a show even though we were, at home. I don't know how bad the roads really were, but next morning when I got up, the roads were dry. I think we should have been in the
Well, we had 2 feet of snow. Is that right? That's what the weathermen were calling for.
Yeah, 2 feet. Right.
2 feet.
Somewhere.
It was a nice snow. I liked it because it snowed. We got a few inches, and then it was gone the next day. That's the kind of snow I like.
Right. It was a good alternative for me because I'm still fighting off the cold. I got the little bit of a dry hack, so forgive me if you hear me cough over somebody. I'm eating cough drops like candy to keep it down, but it's a good alternative to still be able to give the input, but stay separated from you guys. And I actually thought it was kind of fun.
I did too.
I'm looking forward to it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some things we can do with that to help clean it up a little bit. As far as just a little bit of light on like yours, we have to get John to not shrink down.
Well, I think some people are calling that episode Dennis's big head. I think because that's all you see at one point is my big head.
So we can focus on you. I can talk like this.
He's up from here on.
Yeah.
Well, like any new technology, just have to iron some things out. That's all we have to do. I've already taken some steps by loading Skype onto the good computer with a good camera. That should help, I think.
Yeah, and I have some cameras you can probably use if you want to. You want to try? I have some.
Yeah.
They actually do HD video on Skype, so I have some things you can try. It'd be a good test as well.
Yeah. And that's what technology is all about. You try, and if it's not working, then you just go ahead and try something else. It's good. Well, good. So did you know that you can watch us record Security Decoded every week live? And while you watch, you can join the chat room. We've had a couple of people join, and I know we're having a couple of people join later, so we should have a pretty full house there later on. And with other live viewers, we have the chat room in front of us, and while we record, we can be interactive with you. So I guess the biggest article that I saw, it hit all the media outlets. We pulled the headline from Network World, but intelligence officials see cyber attacks as the top U.S. threat. So that means terrorism has taken a second seat here to cybersecurity. That's what they're saying.
Yep, sounds like it.
A couple episodes back we talked about that where it was the Cold War episode. We talked about the new Berlin Wall is now virtual, and right now our wall has got as many holes in it as really good Swiss cheese. So, but yeah, it's with shifting technology as we move forward, the threats don't go away; they just move to new areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is a threat area that's growing very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the reality is starting to hit based on we talked a couple weeks ago about the president's speech about it. I think some of the reality is starting to come in that this is a serious threat for people and for the country in general.
I think a lot of it was paved through, honestly, it's our little, private malware writers or guys that are looking to make some kind of money off of it, and they've tested the way to take advantage of vulnerabilities, how to leverage new tools in ways that people haven't thought of before, and they I think they paved the way, and now you're just seeing it used on a broader scale.
Yeah. What's scary about it is that you have terrorism, which has a political agenda. But here we have the financial crime element.
Right.
So you have old-style criminals combining with terrorists. It's a pretty scary confluence of bad actors here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mike mentioned that the president mentioned this in the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Now we have this report, and this got every media outlet. Was the Washington Post, the New York Times. It was on CNN. It was on every media outlet, so it got a lot of play. And then today, I don't know whether you saw it or not, but the president met with top CEOs, and the only topic was cybersecurity. And the CEOs were from AT&T, JP Morgan, for Northrop Grumman. What do you think, Mike, that the topic, what do you think these CEOs, what are their concerns?
Well, I mean, they have financial concerns too, but you're talking about companies that are doing things for the U.S. military, which I'm sure is probably where the president is partially coming from, because they're holding some of the secrets of our nation. I mean, the things they build for us, we've heard about the drone being intercepted before. I think they're just trying to say this is going to get worse. We need to start looking at it sooner than later, especially if you're like a U.S. contractor of some sort.
Yeah. And of course, JP Morgan, financial, and
anything financial can be a big impact.
Yeah, you can just destabilize a nation without ever crossing a border, virtually, just by impacting the economy. And especially with the way that they're doing things in the cyber community now, you can deny. It's hard to really pin where the attack's coming from.
Yeah. I definitely think we're going to hear more about this, because this seems to be the theme of the administration, that cybersecurity is going to be in the news just about every week, I think. They might even replace Java as our top topic, I think.
That's going to take a lot to do, I think.
Why, you think Java is back in our headlines this week? I think we can. Yes. Well, we mentioned this the last couple of shows that we've done. The RSA conference is always big, and we're really getting some big things out of it. What have you guys heard from it? What new things or new directions did the RSA conference take us?
The biggest one I heard was that there were a lot of vendors, security-related vendors, more vendor-driven, which is good because everybody has their opinion or their view or their specialty, and to get that many vendors in one room and in a collective area, sharing the information, which is what we really need to be doing. We're well beyond the age of I'm going to protect this data for, quote unquote, job security. We got to get beyond that.
So have you guys ever been to an RSA conference?
No.
I've been to just several local ones.
So, they always do a good job with the individual. I mean, the vendors are there. You obviously all have the room, and you have the keynotes.
You went 2 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been like 3 or 4 times now. So last time was 2 years ago. I did not go this year or the year before.
Yeah.
No, I went last year.
Last year was Florida, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know you brought back T-shirts.
Yeah. So that's from the show floor. I mean,
which T-shirts my kids are still wearing, by the way.
That's from the show floor. But they have individual little rooms you can go in and learn stuff, and it's always educational. But this year, nobody came back saying like I had a wow moment there.
Is that right?
I almost always hear somebody come back and say, "Hey, this was really cool. They showed this, or this new problem's coming out." I just didn't hear anybody you talking it up this year. So I just don't know if I'm not in that loop or what it is right now. But it just seems like this year wasn't the same wow as normal.
I think security is at a crossroads right now. We always talked about layered security in the sense of devices from the outside back. What do I have at the gateway? What do I have as I get closer to my user community? When we're finding that the types of attacks that we're most vulnerable to bypass all of that. So I think security is at a crossroads right now. I think as professionals, as an industry, we need to rethink and reinvent and move forward. And so I think that may be the lack of focus, because with this Mandiant report, you can spend as many millions of dollars as you want, and they still show how effective and how easy it is to get in.
Right.
And it was 2 years ago that the big thing at the RSA conference was their own hack.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, did you go to that one? Were you at?
I was there at that one, and I believe that the year before it was talking about. The RSA hack was the last time I was there. So that was 2 years ago, I guess. Or was that last year?
That was last year.
That was
Orlando.
last year.
That was Orlando, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
It might have been. I don't remember. But the time before that, it was more of like the evolving antivirus type thing. Like, you know, you just can't look for patterns anymore.
Right.
More into heuristics type thing. So that was their big
Signature bullet, yeah.
I do remember reading about that, and that was the first time that people started suggesting, and it was pretty radical.
That was Symantec that was on the presentation there.
That's right. And Symantec announced that, you know, we're no longer going to focus on these signature patterns. We'll still do them, but we're not going to focus. There's going to be other
We actually caught their
defenses.
webcast on that, and
Yes,
it
we
was
did.
very, very informative, and you know, they were introducing terms like clickomania.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the whole thing you're talking about, where we got to think things differently and start reinventing how we're doing things, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yep.
You know, because obviously the signature thing is just a catch-up thing.
Right.
You never know what you're going to get until you get a signature to catch it first to do it.
Right.
And by the time you do that, your infection's already potentially running wild.
And you're catching the least riskiest. You know, you're
Well,
catching
the other
obvious.
thing they addressed, I think, that everybody's running into is signature bloat. You know, and you know, you just keep adding to this list, adding to this list, adding to the list, and then you just got this list that's.
Yeah, I haven't seen any numbers recently, but last I heard it was like, you know, tens of thousands of new signatures a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just unbelievable. You got to make
And that's just the stuff they're finding.
I know.
You know.
But the thing is, every client has to have that information.
That's right.
You know, so.
Yeah. Well, speaking in that same vein, we did pull this off of Trend Micro, their blog, but they had a headline from the RSA conference on security awareness, hacking back and going offensive legally, and this was from one of their breakout sessions. And I know that John and I really liked this article. It talks about the same kinds of things, really thinking outside the box, getting away from those same old technologies.
Right.
And they were even suggesting go on the offensive. You got somebody attacking you, you know, do your best to identify them and stop them and shout out, you know, tell everybody else, and then that way they'll see the thing.
I think you're kind of starting to see that with, like, Microsoft now. You know, it's one of those things like you got to join the bandwagon, you've been hacked, but I think it's becoming more acceptable to get hacked. I may hate to say that.
Yes.
It's more acceptable to be hacked. But
That would make a good headline. I'm okay. You're okay to be hacked too.
I think that it's becoming more open. Like, we don't got to hide that anymore. Somebody used to be in the past that companies would say, you know, got to keep this quiet, can't tell everybody.
Yeah.
Or going to lose customers over it. Well, now it's like it's just every day, but you're being more honest about it. You know, and I mean, it could just be that they're being more open because everybody else is, and they want the same kind of press that everybody else is getting to. Who knows?
I mean, whatever happened to the theory of defend yourself? And I think that's what more along the lines of what they're saying is you know, in the past, defense has been prevention. Well, we've reached the point where we know we can't stop them. So, like you said, we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
I remember this topic actually coming up in a couple of seminars last year about proactive hacking.
That's right.
That we were watching and trying to get some more information on how to protect our network, and it's been lingering, and now to reach RSA, I think, you know, it's taken that next step to the.
And if I remember, the suggestion there was to do your own DDoS attack.
Yes.
Back to people attacking. Yeah.
DDoS them back.
That's right. Yeah.
At least that way you have control over the attack, so you know you can turn it off and stuff like that.
That's right.
Before it happens to you.
Yeah.
At least you can tell what's going to happen.
And I think that ties into our first topic, which was, you know, the government saying, we're under attack, we're under attack, we're under attack. And now businesses are saying, yes, we're under attack, we got attacked. And this is what happened to us.
Yep. And the article that Trent was talking about on RSA that I think piqued really good interest within Trend Micro, and the analyst that they sent was they said that there's appeared to be a larger emphasis on the human factor, which, you know, I'll beat that one to death. But you know, it's you got to adopt an awareness program. Our first and number one and best security tool is your user.
That's right. Actually, it's the best security tool, but also the worst.
Yeah, vulnerability.
Worst vulnerability.
That's right. Yeah.
But they go into the article, and then Dennis has it really well highlighted in the notes. And if you want to put it on site, 7 highly effective habits for an awareness program.
Yeah, that'll be on the show notes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's worth it going over a couple of these, but a couple of them have organizational buy-in. I think it's very important everybody starts thinking about security. More creative endeavors. You know, that's you're thinking outside the box, thinking different things, saying, hey, antivirus, you know, it's run its course, baby, you know. And then gather metrics, that's the old one, I think. But you want to have the right kind of metrics, I think.
You do, yeah. I mean, metrics only tell the story that you wanted to tell, right?
It's funny to talk about RSA because last time I was there, I think it was the last time before, I was actually sat in one of those classes, and it was called Metrics for Bunk.
Yeah, that's right.
So, it's all what you do with them. So.
That's right. And then, John, I know you probably want to speak to this one, but be the department of how.
It just, when I first started working with Mike and Dennis, that was our philosophy. Our philosophy was never to say no. If anyone presented us with a challenge, to accept the challenge and provide them with the best possible solution. And I think security as a whole needs to do this. It's real easy to tell everybody no. It's real easy to tell everybody stop this. But all you're doing essentially is bringing a problem to the table. You know, they need this type of access. They need this type of application. For you to say no, now you're giving them a problem when they're coming to you for a solution.
Right.
So, you know, take on that challenge. You know, hone your technical skills.
Yeah.
And bring solutions to the table. So, you know, security needs to be, you know, not your security department, but your department of how. How can I get you an effective solution and protect the network at the same time?
Yeah, I think that there was a quote in that article that said, let security be a key part of solving business challenges, not an obstacle to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The next headline, a new exploit kit in Neutrino. This one comes from Trend Micro as well. And I guess the culprit here is Java.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Back to Java.
That's the new latest Java vulnerability there. And when it is exploited successfully, it downloads a ransomware variant.
Yeah, and we kind of predicted ransomware was going to be essentially our fake AV. Last year, fake AV really crippled the net, just bombed everybody with you're infected, and just, you know, locked out several essential things that made it difficult to clean. So ransomware stepped it up this year. So ransomware is not saying you're infected; they just basically lock you out and say, "Give me money." So
that's definitely well.
It's the smash and dash.
Depends on how you look at it, if it's better or worse, because with fake AV, the only way you can really get rid of it typically is to reimage the machine. So,
yeah. So it was more of an annoyance then, and now it's, you know. Yeah. And we've known a couple of people have gotten infected with it, and they're a little afraid when they call us. They say, what is this? What's going? Do I have to put my credit card in? Yeah. And the answer is always no.
No.
They'll even tell us what site they're on.
Yeah.
I was only on Hotmail, I swear. I don't know what happened.
Our next article from Trend Micro again. It's a very good Trend Micro blog this week. They really active. They must have came back from RSA. You know, this happens. You know, you get charged up when you come back from a conference like that. And
the other thing was, I think before RSA, they were probably working on the RSA stuff.
Yeah.
And they did make a lot of announcements before RSA because they wanted to make them at RSA. So I think there's just, and now that RSA is over, they're back to the normal.
Well, they are a vendor, right? So.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But this article headline is Andromedia botnet resurfaces, and we've seen this one. This is the black hole exploit kit, which can be very scary.
So is that Andromeda?
I'm sorry, Andromeda. Yes.
Sounds familiar.
So one of the ways that you, or more than likely way that you will see this introduced into your system is through emails. You know, everybody will try to layer defenses on emails, but the way that they spam botnet, hide things in an email, catch you on a link through a redirect, or whether the package is there, it's probably the easiest path to exploit. And then it's hack the user again. You know, I have the black hole exploit kit, which I know works. Mm-hmm. All I gotta do is just
fill in the blanks.
Yeah, hook that user. Get that one user.
Yeah, I find it a little interesting that it's mostly affecting Australia, Turkey, and Germany.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's just like a test for them. You know, is that more could be coming with this, I guess.
Right.
I kind of also wonder, you know, if it's related to, the entity that's deploying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, could be.
So, do they is it easier for them to exploit that region versus, the U.S., Canada, or other European countries?
Yeah, the article suggests that the reason why this one is tough because it can manifest in a couple different ways. It has a rootkit element, it has the callback element, it has the backdoor element.
Key loggers and form grabbers, it's a data stealer big time.
Yeah.
And that's pretty scary.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Our next headline, there's a new OS on the block, Firefox, and the headline says, "How safe will it be?" That is the last one from Trend Micro that we have. How safe will it be?
It's hard to say. I've seen images of it, but I've never actually seen it actually in use. I might watch a video of it like on their site, but I haven't seen it. I know it's not really out for the developers yet, so I don't really know all the details about it yet. I'm kind of curious to see what it comes out with. I mean, Chrome came out with its own OS, which is essentially Linux.
Yeah.
With Chrome on top of it. So is that what they're doing? Are they running the same type of thing? I don't have any of the details. That'd be kind of interesting to know more about it.
Yeah.
And that's how you can tell how it's going to be exploited or exploitable.
My biggest thing is to get it out of their hands. They know what they want.
Right.
But you get so focused on your own baby that you can't see your own flaws, right? Everything it's your child.
That's why you
it's
get out
pretty.
the developers. They need to get the developers out there and start testing it and things like that.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, nobody's really had a chance to beat it up and see what it's like yet.
I mean, the prettiest baby in the world is your own, right? So to them, it's a pretty baby. It's the prettiest one out there. But I have some concerns because they're trying to get a little bit ahead and really leverage HTML5.
Right, and actually I think that's kind of what the article's kind of talking about, was HTML5 has the ability to store data locally.
Right.
Yep.
And you start doing that, you're giving them access to local storage.
That's right.
What else can you take advantage of there? Things like that.
I mean, there are other things that we have actually run into, and I gave you, I think a couple months back, I gave you a piece of malware to reverse where we found a version of heap spraying targeted for fun. Remember that? And because it was specifically targeted for platforms that leveraged the new HTML5, heap spray, which was an old attack, was renewed and brought back specifically for
HTML5 as the attack.
And because of the HTML5 component with the old attack of heap spray, what it did was it made a super heap spray that would happen so fast that it was almost undetectable.
Yeah, hard to detect.
Yep.
Yeah. So our next headline, Anatomy of a Problem. Bitcoin loses 25% in value due to a long missed bug.
I'm surprised Bitcoin's still around. I was talking to you earlier about that.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people would buy Bitcoin. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What was the game that everybody did that was like a virtual game? You could buy money, buy property in it and stuff.
Yeah.
And people were selling them on eBay.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this virtual thing? You're buying money.
Yeah.
From
Well, there was a hack a couple of years ago where people could hack your computer and basically steal your Bitcoins off your computer, and they were building these enormous banks, stealing Bitcoins.
Yeah. So this is interesting. They had that hack. They had another hack later in the year, in 2011. So they took a pretty big hit. Now their own developers found the flaw. They announced the flaw, and the value of Bitcoin went down 25% after they announced the own flaw, after they found it themselves. So isn't that kind of shooting yourself in the foot and kind of contrary to what we said about, hey, if you get hacked or if you know a vulnerability, go ahead and speak up, tell everybody.
I think they try to jump on the bandwagon where, Mike says it's no longer acceptable to try to, hide your faults, to come out there and tell everybody, hey, yeah, we do have our faults, but look, we caught one, we fixed it, and boy, did it come back and smack them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bitcoin is on the frontier here because digital currency eventually will be here. And this is the first test run or the first microcosm that we have of the use of digital currency.
Yeah, we all use digital currency. I use digital currency.
Online banking,
PayPal,
right?
Online banking. I'm thinking PayPal because it's their money's not really they're a bank technically, I guess. But
Yeah.
They aren't regulated like a bank. I mean, they're not regulated by the U.S. government or anything.
So we discussed 2 episodes ago the ATM mules.
Right.
Yeah, that's essentially an attack on virtual currency that they were able to convert into physical currency and then have people mule it across.
But in this case, that money has value.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That has
money,
value. It's money.
Yeah.
But here, the bit is the currency.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So
but
that's the
you know,
difference.
the scary thing, you say bit, if all the hard drives that had your bits on it would go away.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
you
right.
You lose any value to it.
Did you back
Yeah.
up your Bitcoins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cash, you know, it's physical. I mean, I know it's in a bank and you don't physically have it in your hands.
That's right.
But they are insured and responsible for it. Where with Bitcoin, here's a bunch. It really is a bunch of bits floating around. You know, there's no. I don't know.
That's right.
Cool.
Well, as we talked about with our Skype experience, you know, sometimes you have some test runs that don't work out exactly as you think. But, you know, so maybe Bitcoin is going to be the precursor to actual bits having value.
I think Bitcoin's biggest mistake is that they were compromised twice.
Yeah.
And they weren't small compromises. They were pretty significant compromises.
Yeah.
You know, and what you want to do is reassure your customers that you are secure. I think that's what their intention was, but the way they delivered it just totally backfired.
Yeah, and you know, I just remember the game. I was thinking of Second Life. Remember
Yeah,
the
that's
game
right. Second Life. That's right.
Where
Yeah.
you could buy property and build houses. I mean, but it's no different than World of Warcraft, where people are mining for gold and they're going out and they're buying things from people.
You can sell the virtual gold, yeah.
No, exactly. So,
Yeah.
well, in the virtual world, in this case, with WoW, they have an auction in there.
Yeah.
But people are selling items in these worlds on eBay. I mean, it's people are paying money for this stuff, and it's just
real cash.
bits. Yeah,
Not only that, you know, there were a couple of lawsuits because I remember there was a husband who had a second life. He had another wife in a second life. Well, the real wife found out, took him to divorce court and said that he's cheating. He's got a second wife in a digital life.
Can you imagine that, dude?
Yeah. I believe that they declared that was not an actual relationship.
Sounds like a Judge Judy show.
Yeah. Those are the end of the Trend Micro headlines. Now on to Naked Security. This one comes to Naked Security. In fact, same thing with Naked Security. Very good stuff on Naked Security. We had a good time going through those articles today. Adobe tells Windows and Mac users to install critical security updates for Flash and AIR.
Air.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this helps care of a vulnerability that can allow remote execution. So
well, here's the thing with Air, Adobe Air is for executing. I mean, it's basically the scripting language in a shell. So you write your script, you give it to people who have Adobe Air installed, and they can run on Windows or Mac. It's like a portable. It's similar to Java in some ways. They're very portable. So they gotta allow some things to run because otherwise it's useless as a language. So
I gotta say,
there's going to be a possibility for vulnerabilities, I think, in Air.
Java and Adobe, to me, as far as their exploits and what they lead to, what their end results, they almost come hand in hand. For as many things as you hear Java, I bet you I can find the same thing for Flash.
Right, and that makes sense because they're both allowing code to execute. You know, Java's a language that allows you to execute things on your operating system, and so is Flash. I mean, Flash is using the Adobe language, the same thing that Air uses. So the same vulnerabilities are going to exist across all those, and that's just how the products are very flexible. You can write and create programs with things. That's what they're trying to.
Yeah, and the good thing of it is that the new release and the reason why they're really pushing for it is because it's not to just secure a vulnerability. It's actually to secure a real-world exploit where they see this being exploited now.
Right.
And so.
Yep. So Krebs Security had an article that said, "Help keep threats at bay with click to play." So we finally have some solutions to Java and Flash.
Yeah, and this is good, and I try to keep these two articles closely related because we're coming off the heels of, the Flash and the Air patch. So what Krebs on Security did a really good article, and if there's an article in here that you should really read, I really highly recommend that you go to this one. But it talks about limiting your web browser plugins like Java and Flash. Can help block attacks from committing your drive-by attacks. Most people that we see get infected don't even realize that they're being infected. That's essentially what we would call drive-by attackers, where they're not doing anything malicious. They're not going to inappropriate websites. They're going to legitimate sites, and they're getting these drive-by infections because of the fact that they have Java and Flash enabled as a browser plugin to automatically execute.
Right, and you can change that, and it says you can't do it in Safari yet, but you can do that already in Chrome. I know I've seen it in Chrome and Firefox both.
Yeah, they said so. The ability to disable the click and play feature is built into Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Opera, and they said, and it's available via an add-on in Safari. And not only do they let you know which browsers it's available in, the article tells you how to do it.
Yeah.
It tells you how to disable this. So if you disable the auto run feature, what it does is if it runs into an instance where it requires Java, it requires Flash, instead of auto running it, it'll populate a box with options in the box that will say, do you want to execute this? So you can make a decision on whether or not you want to run the Java component or whether you want to run the Flash component. It's almost like your automatic updates.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I got an update.
Right.
And check it out. So
I mean, in some ways, I kind of do this the way I surf now. Is I use Firefox as my main browser, and if I go somewhere,
we talked about this 2 episodes ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I do not have Flash or Java running in that browser.
Yep.
If I get somewhere where I need it, then I go to Chrome.
Yeah.
But by that point, I've made the decision that I'm willing to take the risk of going to that Chrome browser.
Right.
And Chrome has a little bit better control over Flash and Java, I think, as well. A little more sandboxing, so I'm not quite as at risk with that. But I don't find I see many things that I can't do. I mean, YouTube is one thing that I can't do. But most things work just fine being safe in a browser that doesn't run Java. It's actually a good test. If you want to know if you'd be affected by not turning it on or off, is try a browser, turn it off in one browser, and if it doesn't work for you, go back to the other browser.
I gotta say, I think the biggest impact to it is more the social media sites, because everybody loves to link a video or.
Yeah, but I use social media sites, except for YouTube. It's the only one that doesn't seem to work.
So, and then Mike says you got to test it out, but I think the biggest disappointment is the one browser we didn't mention.
You mean Internet Explorer?
Hey.
Well,
I mean,
you could do it, but it's difficult.
Very, very hard.
So I have to ask, are you surprised by that?
With as much bad play as you're getting, the worst thing you can do is make something hard. You know what I mean? You would think they would do.
Do you know what version is IE10 any better?
Well, they said IE10 tries to remediate this because they use their own version of Flash. They're not actually using Flash. They have something that helps reduce.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to something that Apple recently did, which was go to the Java site and say, you get your Java now from Oracle. We're not going to maintain our own because we can't keep up with it.
Yeah. Right.
So now it's Microsoft trying to create their own problem by trying to maintain their own version of Flash.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that happening. I think they should learn from somebody else who already had this problem.
Now, I did load 10 on Windows 8. And it's pretty good, but it's hard to configure. And things, as they get further away, aren't in the place that you start looking for them. So.
Well, I think the thing is they're trying to make it easier for a home user like my wife.
Right, but the problem is you make things.
But it makes it more difficult for.
Yeah. Makes it more difficult for us, and makes it less secure typically.
Yeah.
It does.
In that same process, because they don't want to present you with these questions you're not going to know the answer to.
Yeah.
So they just try to do everything for you.
We said it something like last week where just because something is more convenient doesn't mean that it's more safe.
That's right.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite.
Yeah. Usually.
So as a side note, if you enable any of these features, where you disable the click and play, or even if you decide to unplug Java from any of your browsers, if you run an Oracle Java installer to update, it will reset everything back to default auto. So every time you update, Oracle will re-enable the plugin and have it run auto. So keep that in mind. If you're securing yourself by enabling the click and play feature and you update, go redo it because it has been reset.
Okay, that's good to know.
So something ironic here while we're talking about it. I take classes for cybersecurity, and it's a cybersecurity school, and I got on my website tonight, and after our articles, I had, after a few weeks, I had disabled Java. Guess what I had to re-enable or go to my other browser to get onto my
Your security
my school's security class.
That's kind of funny. So you are getting your doctorate, right? It is a really secure security school, right?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of ironic, actually.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And you did it on your IE browser, right?
That's right. No, I had to go to Chrome because Chrome is the one with Java.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, here's the scariest headline. We talked 2 episodes ago about places that you give data and you don't really think about it, and you hope they don't get hacked. So here's the headline. Equifax and TransUnion say hackers sold celebrity credit reports. Now, they were after celebrities because, that's where your biggest bang for the buck is, but what if they lost a lot of data?
I just gotta wonder, if it's more than the deep pockets. Really, I mean, if you're in there, right? You're already there.
Based on the fact that they're targeting celebrities and political people, like
Joe Biden,
Hillary Clinton, and Michelle Obama, they may have been looking for more information than just trying to steal, but more background information on them as well. So, I mean, I would be hard-pressed to think they would go after and try to steal money. I mean, that would be the big coup, right?
Yeah.
You just stole money and you from the First Lady. That's like a big thing right there.
Yeah.
It'd be a thing to tout, but I would think they're doing more research on trying to get background information on them.
But I gotta kind of wonder what the repercussions are for something like this, because I don't sign up for an Equifax service. I don't sign up for a TransUnion service.
But you don't have to.
No. I mean, it's not like something that I go out and say, hey, I want you to do your credit report on me. They do it on their own. People request, hey, what's this person's credit report? What's this person's credit rating? And they actually go out and scour that information.
If any credit card company every once in a while would run your credit just to make sure you're still okay to be there.
So, and that's what I'm wondering is what's the repercussions on something like this when this is a company that's, providing a service to help, say, well, this is an acceptable risk for a loan. This is not an acceptable risk. And here they're losing data on information that's not volunteered. You know what I mean? Beyonce didn't say, hey, Equifax, you can have this. Hillary Clinton didn't go to TransUnion and go, here's my whole history.
Right. But, I'm sure somewhere in their agreement that you signed with your credit companies.
That little teeny print on the back.
Print at the bottom, and it says that
that my bifocals can't read.
You agree that we will report this information to a credit bureau. So at that point, they're probably off the hook. I would guess. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer. Took any legal advice from me.
Now, back in the 30s, this country had a rash of bank robberies, and they had a famous bank robber who was executed, and he said, "Well, why did you rob banks?" And the guy says, "Well, that's where the money is." So. The same thing here. Here's a lot of data is being stored here, and a lot of personal information. And it is John was right, it's being collected probably without your awareness.
Right. But they also typically have information about your home loans and stuff, which have your home location. So what if they're trying to get somebody's house address?
That's right. Yeah.
Or something else. There could be other reasons.
If you can extract the data, you got to assume they can alter the data. So how soon until somebody just starts crunching, I wouldn't say so much as destroy credits. I would think that somebody, hacktivism would all of a sudden everybody would have an 800 credit score. You know what I mean? Yeah. You qualify for everything, and then all of a sudden everybody's got the American Express Black Card.
Right. Well, we had the Bitcoin example that you could fluctuate the value of something if you had control over it. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Colin Powell's Facebook account has been hacked. So even the general isn't safe from hackers. But this article is pretty funny. It said, well, maybe the general should get some better support in picking out passwords and other basic security measures. So what do we think about this? We think that Colin Powell got hacked.
Well, I would hope that he has pretty decent security policies.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that he should be restricted. I mean, he shouldn't be allowed to put anything in there that wasn't really safe. But look, it's been a personal account. So you just never know. But
well, there was a little bit of hacktivism at work here because it was a slight at George Bush. So they replaced pictures and added funny captions and things like that.
The intent wasn't to steal data. It was more
defacement.
Defacement.
Actually, I just saw it was Facebook. I'm sorry, I didn't see that before.
Oh, yeah. So I just got to say it. This is not surprising. I think the shock value in all of this is the name.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not surprising. He's not an IT professional.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's probably forced to put this password in that he probably does not like to remember.
Yeah.
And at home he's gonna be like everybody else and make it as simple as he can to remember it. So.
Yeah, I think it was General 1. I think that was probably the password. Our next headline is Evolution. Microsoft moving past the Patch Tuesday update cycle for its Windows 8 apps. What do we think about this?
I think it's very good. I think it's a very good move on Microsoft's part. So there's a lot of debate, but until you get the official statement from Microsoft, but the Patch Tuesday I think was primarily intended to help manage enterprises. When you release patches and you release them on a regular schedule, you give enterprises the opportunity to test against test and dev environments, make sure that apps don't break before you roll out to production. Yeah,
but probably what they're seeing is most large enterprises that would do that have some kind of management system in place, whether they're using the Microsoft solution or something like BigFix to do patch management. I actually think it's a good idea. That's how most vendors roll things out.
That's
iTunes or even the my Nexus 7 gets updates very regularly, and I'd rather have that than wait for a month because there's 3 weeks where I could be vulnerable to something.
That's right. So they identify the threat, but doesn't go out until a couple weeks. That's
right, and the problem is that's 3 weeks for somebody to write something before you put a patch out.
And like Mike says, it's Patch Tuesday. Why they didn't get rid of it a long time ago, I don't have an idea. I just don't know why, because most environments still control it. They have like a WSUS server, or they have an enterprise management tool like BigFix or Altiris or something, where they're going to store the patches anyways. They're not going to release them on that Tuesday. They're going to release them when they're ready for it. So now what you're doing is you're actually giving cyber criminals windows. So they have now opportunities of 30 days to hammer out something as fast as they can, and then just wreck.
Right, and you see that happen. It happens that something's announced in a matter of 12 or 24 hours, something's already out there, and there's not a patch for it available. Of course, the AV companies generally try to get involved in that too.
Right.
Yep.
But they shouldn't have to do that.
And then came the creation of the term out of band.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do an out-of-band patch. So, with this adoption of a continuous cycle, you don't have to worry about out-of-band.
Right.
You have a problem, you fix it, you shoot it. You have a problem, you fix it, you shoot it. So the companies decided to follow with what they call a pedestrian path, which, like you said, has been established already with several other third-party OSs. Yeah. So by simply releasing updates as they're ready.
Yeah.
As needed.
And you can turn off auto update if that's not what you want to do.
Right.
So that option still exists as well.
Yeah. Now, 4 months ago, we had a Java exploit identified. They said, well, can't get the patch out into a couple months. Well, it didn't turn out to be a couple months. They got it out fairly quickly because it turned out to be a big news cycle, and it was bad publicity for them.
Right, and I think Java and they almost told everybody, too bad. You'll get it when we're ready for it.
Yeah. Well, they're waiting for the end of life. That's what they were doing for one of their 6.
6, which they said they were going to stop patching, which they just released the patch for.
That's right.
But Java's becoming a pain point. You know what I mean? A lot of our great tools that we use now that are very effective have been because we have a pain point.
Right. That's the whole seed innovation, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
a pain point to make something
Java, but Java is so widely dispersed,
right,
and has been so embedded that I think they have enough arrogance to think that they can't be knocked off the hill. Yeah, we got a problem, so let's deal with it. They're becoming a pain point. Guess what's going to happen? Someone is going to make a product that's going to ruin them. They better get on the ball.
Yeah.
Because they are getting very painful. I mean, there's federal recommendations for people to just say, hey, uninstall it. Don't use it. Get away from it.
Right.
You know, you get state-sponsored pushes like that.
Yeah, you know, and I have some friends that are Java developers. I'm sure they don't like hearing that, but you know, it's just the reality that's there.
So I can guarantee you, someone right now is sitting at a desk recoding. Right. You know, it's a matter of time. You get painful enough. It's a matter of time.
Yeah. The next headline comes from the mobile security arena. Mobile malcoders pay to Google Play. So we have malware targeting Android users, which we've talked about before. Yeah. And it seems like this is going to be another regular segment of ours.
Yeah, this is one of the things where I think Google needs to step in and say, okay, we've had this open, and we want to keep as open as possible, but we do have to protect people.
Yeah.
So now I will say their base operating system, like in 4.2 that's newly out, is very good. It's getting much better at protecting things, but now they need to take it back to the source. So that's taken care of on the store. And what I don't understand is why don't they go to somebody like Lookout or one of those other AV companies for Android and say, hey, we'll work with you if you come in and scan our apps as people upload them.
Right.
To see what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
We talked about this because you do Apple development or app development. I'm sorry, for iOS, right?
No, I do it for Android.
Android and I remember you talking about the process of just getting one of your apps into the iStore.
Apple is a pain.
Yeah.
I mean, but I appreciate what they're trying to do. So it's not I'm not a complaint.
Yeah.
Yep.
But to make it less complicated for you.
Right. Well, I don't sort of think it's that complicated. They keep coming back and saying, we don't like you doing this or things like that. The fact that they dig into it and check it makes me feel better in some ways. I mean, it's a pain for me, but it definitely protects the end user.
And I think that's their intent. And they discuss a part of that in this article that they say, for those of you that are knocking on it, let's look at the numbers. Look at the number of malware written for iOS versus Droid. Look at the number of infectious or malicious apps that are currently sitting in iTunes or the iStore versus the Google Play Store. So in the article, they go to a Kaspersky. Kaspersky did a analysis on malware targeted for, and here comes the security superdog. So I just lost my screen. So Kaspersky did a study, and they did a study of malware written for Android OSs, and last year the malware for smartphones increased by more than 780% over the year 2011. And according to Kaspersky, of that increase, 99% of it was Android.
Yep.
So here, as painful as iOS may be to get an app up on their store, for good reason. You know what I mean? And that's why you said that maybe Google needs to do a better job because you want to maintain the open
I think it's time they got to look at that a little more. I mean, may not need to go as far as Apple, but if they would at least scan the app when it's uploaded, I think that would be the first step. You don't have to go through and tear it apart and see what it's doing. You just scan it, make sure it's not going to do anything malicious anywhere.
Yeah. What if they increase their requirements? So it says in the article, very good article. We should check that on the show tunes on the on the
show notes.
I don't put it past me. On the show notes. So it says $25, and then you have to be tied to a domain. But really, it didn't mention any more. What if they increase that? What if you have to be an established code developer, or
the requirements were pretty light actually, and they were saying that it was a simple process of basically being vetted into the Google system, and it really wasn't that expensive. So what people were doing was they were getting basically validated into the Google Play Store, and then once they got that name validated, they would turn around and then sell it on the malware market. Essentially,
as an active account.
Yeah, essentially, it's mimicking the Bit9 security key.
Right.
So now, hey, I've got a legitimate name on me.
Right.
Pass.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and they're saying that they're seeing these certificates go as cheap as $100 a certificate.
That's right.
And then you can just start mass distributing. So the article that this was written about was actually targeting one specific user that they were tracking on a hacker's forum. Not only was this guy just buying in mass these certificates, he actually has a kit that's deployable already for Droid.
Right.
So now he's masquerading behind these legitimate signatures, deploying a kit.
Right, and the other thing you have to remember is the Android is very popular in countries that are known for malware.
That's right.
Yep.
You know, you think of China. You know, it's there is no iPhone in China.
That's right.
So if you want to go out to the China market, you know, China's the worst infected country, right?
That's right.
So
no, they're not. Who's what?
Yeah. So you get the same thing. People are saying like, well, if you're going to have Android, we'll just infect you with that too, and we'll just keep building our little network of compromised devices.
Right.
And not to knock Android, I gotta say we're not an anti-Android forum.
No, absolutely not.
It just is what it is. In an effort to keep it open source,
right?
To maintain that freedom, you have several people that are just looking to take total advantage of it. In 2011, the average piece of malware found for Android was averaging on about 800 per month. In 2012, that number is over 6,000.
Yeah.
To be exact, they said that figure rose to 6,300 discovered every month.
Yep.
So, and that was per the Kaspersky report that's published within the article, and that's just astonishing. That's exponential growth.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
We've talked about things you can do not to get infected from these apps. Go to a third party recommendation, see how many people have actually bought it, take a look at the recommendations within them. Have we done a security 101?
We did, actually. I don't remember what episode it is. I'll have to look.
Yeah. It's one of the earlier where you talked about some AV products.
Right, yeah. So I mentioned different antivirus products and things you can do.
Right.
But see, and that's where this gets around because of the fact that you're actually buying a reputation.
Yeah.
Somebody's already invested the $25. Somebody's already gone through and they've gone through the requirements for the accounts. They've gone through the approvals for the accounts. They've met excuse me, everything for Google Play to put you on the marketplace. And now they're selling their name. There's so this kind of ruins the whole let's do an integrity check.
Right.
Eventually they'll get caught, but initially, they're going to be able to distribute some stuff out there.
That's right.
And they're going to get their, they'll get their 2%.
Yep.
And make their money.
That was a great article, and that really gelled together a lot of our stats that we've been putting together for the past several weeks. And do go out on TechSend TV and check out Security 101 for any additional things.
The video is Protect Your Android Phone.
Protect Your Android Phone.
Yeah, that would have been,
And I got to say,
episode 8, I think.
I have a scanner on my iPhone.
Yeah, actually, you can get Lookout now on your iPhone.
Yeah.
Too.
So, and what the scanner does on my iPhone is it basically does an integrity check of any app that I have on my phone, and it will tell me if it doesn't like a behavior, if it's a suspicious behavior, and then it.
So, are you running Lookout? Is that when you're running?
I can't. No, I can't remember. I'm sorry.
I didn't know. I know Lookout existed. Lookout's really good too because it'll email you every week of what it thinks your phone's doing too. Gives you like a report.
Right. Lookout's what I put on my wife's phone.
Yeah.
And it gives you
iPhone.
iPhone.
And it gives you the ability to decide whether or not you want to dump the app or keep it.
Right.
Yeah. My favorite. This is my favorite article this week. And the picture is great. You have to go from the show notes, go to this article. iPhone thief posts picture of himself seemingly smoking pot on victim's Facebook page. So what we had is there was a young woman who lost her phone, and she checked into her Facebook account, and there's a picture she did not post of a gentleman who we're assuming is the thief, and he was smoking pot on this picture. So what could this young woman have done to prevent this besides not lose her phone?
You said it was Facebook, right?
Facebook, yes.
Well,
lock your phone.
Did she have a password?
She did not. She did not lock her phone.
And also, don't use the
so
world's strongest password of 1, 2, 3.
The first thing is put a password.
Well, the article did say that she did not actually lock her phone. It was an inconvenience. It said.
Actually, I have a picture of the guy.
Oh, good.
And the $100 bills he has in his hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unless you want your phone taking a picture like this, make sure you put a password.
That's right. Yeah. And what can you do if you lose your phone right away? You can. It
really depends on what kind of phone you have.
Yeah.
So,
it's an iPhone in this case.
iPhone in this case, if you have, you can actually go out and log into your Me account or whatever your iCloud account is. Mine's still .me. And you can wipe it remotely.
Yeah.
You can also do a Find My iPhone if you're going to try and get the police to find it. And that's something that's big right now happening in New York.
Yeah, and it was in New York City.
It was in New York City.
Yes.
So they may have told her to do that as well.
Yeah.
But they're getting very good about finding iPhones up there, apparently. Now, if you're on Android and say you have Lookout installed, you can remote wipe and remote find your device.
Yeah.
But if you do not have any AV installed, if you go to Lookout, there's a thing called Plan B, and it will allow you to download Plan B to your phone, and then basically it turns on the beaconing feature, which I think allows you to wipe it as well.
Right.
So it's called Plan B.
Yeah. Now, how about your Facebook and LinkedIn, and should you change accounts then, or?
Well, I would change the password at a minimum.
So anything that you have stolen, you might be one of those times that John has talked about, just go ahead and change all your passwords.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not the same password for every account.
Because it's the whole
thing. Not first thing. Do not use the same password.
That's right.
Excuse me. Everybody is enabled the Keep Me Logged In feature.
Yeah.
You lose your device,
Yeah.
you've lost access, and it's it's more than changing the password. You get someone that's savvy enough. If I can get into your account, what I might quietly do is just reset your security questions. I'll let you change your password all day, and then all I'll do is go in and say, hey, I want to rechange the password, and here are the security questions that I now know the answers to because I reset them.
That's right.
And now I'm back into your account.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that you really need to think about, and the best thing to do is really not to take this onto yourself.
So this brings up another question. I've had this asked me before, not necessarily around this show, but when you put in the security questions, did you answer them properly?
No,
I don't.
I don't either.
Because the security questions are public information.
A lot of them are.
So then the other thing is and I so picked up on it so fast, but and I have to warn my friends about it. Your Facebook quizzes. Hey, what's your favorite color? What's this? What's the first street you lived on? What shoes do you like? What's your dad's middle name? What's this? And then you eventually pick out your security questions, peppered through these little surveys. Copy this and pass it on to your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always followed this. I don't know answer. I know what I answer for each thing, but it's not the real answer.
Yeah. So basically, you have your own second life.
I do.
Going, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. How about birthday?
I have a date for that too.
Is that
I'm
right?
a lot younger than my birthday.
Yeah.
I don't advertise and I don't use the year.
Yeah.
I gotta say, some of it may be half correct, some of it, enough to skew it, but close enough that family members know that, it may be close to my real birthday, but how old am I really? Facebook may think I'm 21.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, in Facebook, I have the right day and month, but not the right year.
Right.
And I'll
because
do
otherwise
it
I
that
get
much.
the birthday welcomes on the wrong day. So
Right.
Yeah.
But there is a typical answer. I have a fixed date that I can easily remember, that I use for most things we're asking for your birthday.
Yeah.
It's not going to show up and tell something.
Yeah, I think you're missing out. I think if you had another birthday, I think you might be able to work something out on that.
Yeah,
Celebrate it twice.
If at all possible, I try to use security questions that isn't a part of any kind of document that can be requested to the Freedom of Information Act.
Right.
Something
But
that's
everybody knows what that is.
uniquely personal to me.
Right.
That if I knew it, basically my brother, my sister, my mom, and dad would probably know it, and that is it. So, but things like maiden names. Those are, I think, the worst security questions that you could ever do.
Right.
And it's almost probably the most common one. What's your mom's maiden name? Holy smokes, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's easy to get.
Yeah.
You know?
You might as well put 1, 2, 3, 4 back in there.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
Also in that article is a great link that says, check out other goofs made by criminals. And this is just another great link. But they had the burglars who went into to rob a Starbucks or internet cafe, and they had logged into their Facebook page before they did the deed, robbed them, but they forgot to log out, so it was just easy to find them. And this reminds me of
that goes in the stupid criminal.
That's right, yeah. But this reminds me, in the early days, I used to work a help desk overnight, and I had a friend who he got robbed. And during the day, he went home to sleep. Criminals came in, took his computer while he was sleeping. Took his computer. They eventually found his computer. They went to prosecute. And on his own computer, they had a file, a document that said, things we have stolen. And the computer was on the document, everything they stole that day, and everybody else. And they ended up with 10 counts of burglary.
So why would you even record that?
I don't know.
What good does it do you to record what you've stolen?
Trophies.
Well, it's all the human element, the same bad things that are good and things that are bad kind of intermix here. You want to be organized, but there are some things you shouldn't be organized with.
Yeah, I need some thank you card to everybody that I stole from, right?
That's right. And before we get to our malware, you can get Security Coded delivered automatically to your favorite device by subscribing to our netcast at your favorite podcast directory like iTunes. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to get regular updates as well. If you listen to Sticker Radio, subscribe to get your Security Decoded automatically every week. We also have a Twitter account that you can follow to get the latest news and information. You can find all the details by going to securitydecoded.tv. Trending malware phishing. This is another one of my favorite articles here. Germans bombarded a malware attack. Shipment firm caught in crossfire, forced to suspend email address. Yep. I will go ahead and say the name of the company that's on the email because I've been practicing, and I haven't gotten any other word right tonight. Luftfahrtsendung. It's their equivalent of UPS. Yeah.
Wow, ours is a lot shorter.
Yeah. So we have seen this before. People want their packages, and it's very enticing.
I think our companies were, what I mean by our companies, U.S.-based companies like FedEx. FedEx has a global presence. This German company didn't. So, it took a little while for it to make its rounds to these other delivery companies. But I think somebody found out, says, hey, if we can trick so many people using FedEx or UPS, let's do a regional. And look how effective it was. It was so effective, they actually had to bring down their email.
Yeah.
So they had to suspend their email address.
Yeah. To
stop the campaign.
That's right.
Yeah. So it said about this company was innocent.
Yeah.
So, there's this thing going around where I forget they call them trolls. Basically go around and attack companies or people and do something like this to them. It's in this country they call them trolls.
Yeah.
So they'll attack a celebrity and they'll deface the part of the celebrity or send out emails or make up something that isn't true, and enough of them get involved in the process that they make them basically take down their email. At that point, it sounds like something very similar to this.
I mean, we ran into a piece of malware like this late December, early January, where what we were getting was not only was it a email campaign, but the links within each email was dynamic. So doing a little bit of research on it, they were legitimate websites. And what they did was the websites had a vulnerability that the campaign, the attackers were able, excuse me, to embed a piece of malware within their website because they had an open index. So if you went to the site itself, the site was legitimate, but by appending that one index, you would go straight to the malware and it would deliver on you. So what we were doing was you couldn't keep up with the way that it was morphing. It was just morphing too fast. But we started to notice the trend. We were able to capture where the injection was sitting. And by carving it out, then we would go and visit these websites. And, some of them we would just try to tell them, hey, your website's compromised. You need to clean up.
Yeah.
But if these companies, like this shipping firm, if someone's not proactively telling them, guess what's going to happen? They're going to end up on a blacklist because they're actually delivering malicious code.
Yeah.
And now they're going, why is my website being blocked? Why am I blacklisted? And they got this little piece of malware.
And I saw this email. It's very good, just like the FedEx, UPS, DHL. There's no misspellings. It's taken right. All the logos and icons are correct.
Yeah.
It seems like if someone's expecting a package, why not click on it? Yeah. Wipe the Drive, Stealthy Malware Persistent Mechanism, Part 1. This is from SANS, and it's the ShmooCon 2013. Jake Williams and Mark Baga gave a presentation, Wipe the Drive. And I thought they had some really good, a really good point here. So this is for a security professional, has a dilemma. I have an infection. Do I wipe it? Do I investigate it? What do I do?
I guess it depends on what you think was taken. If you think something was taken and you manage sensitive data, I think you need to investigate. Because unless you know what was taken, you're at risk. Or somebody else could be at risk because something was taken from your machine.
Yeah.
If it was my personal machine, I would just say reimage it.
Yeah.
That'd be my thing.
Yeah, but you back everything up. You know what I mean? How many things do you have backed up? So as much as I tell that to my parents, the only time they get backed up is when I'm sitting in front of their computer.
So you want to get them a gift for Christmas?
So I know.
Carbonite.
Yeah.
Let's go to Carbonite. Actually, there's a couple of those out there now. There's a new one I saw today. I can't remember what it's called. I don't have it in front of me either. But they do a good job of backing up too. I mean, Carbonite is $60 a year.
Yeah.
You just turn it on and it just backs up for them. I mean, that's how I do it.
Well, they
I mean, I use other things too, but
I set up Time Machine.
I have Time Machine running, but not necessarily on my laptop because it's portable. I'm always carrying it around.
Yeah.
But like the desktop, I have Time Machine.
And they're desktops, and that's what I ended up setting up, just so I could do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's better than nothing. I mean, there's actually, and I don't think it's been published yet, a Security 101 thing about this whole thing about backing up and stuff like that. Because if you get infected, best thing to do is reimage. Or if you get infected to the point where your data has been hijacked, and they're trying to get you to pay money to get it undone, which never give a credit card.
Right.
never pay anybody anything. But if it's ransomware, you lose your data. Best thing to do there is just reimage the box and restore it at that point. So.
Yeah.
I do. I get torn with this one. And Dennis and I, while we're sitting together, he wanted to talk about this, and it was an open discussion. And I mean, I could literally spend hours on this, and I get very torn on this subject. I say yes, but at the same time, I can offer with enough information to say no to it also.
Yeah, so. I guess my concern is, and especially you and I and Dennis are maybe different because we do this every day.
Mm-hmm.
But the average person wouldn't know what to look for, and you wouldn't know if you got more than what you got. I mean, especially things that have droppers on them that continue to drop new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the malware community, as you start to reverse it, you'll learn a word called mutex. If you haven't heard of it now, you will hear of it. So your AV scanners, cleaners, heuristic engines, whatever you want to call them, they can only clean what they know.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. They can only clean what they know. So
and sometimes they clean stuff that shouldn't be cleaned.
Yeah,
right.
And the fact that
happens all the time.
And the article goes to speak to the fact that it found something. Chances are, at the rate that new malware is being written, there's something there that you haven't found.
Right.
And it's almost, you can almost say it's one for one.
And if you don't know how to properly get rid of it or look for it, you're going to be at risk of getting something more if you don't get rid of the dropper, for example.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or, the piece that's setting up the data, you may have gotten part of it, the part you can see, but the part you don't see could still be there. So, I mean, for most people, it's probably safer to do a reimage unless you really have something you need off of there.
Yep. But I think for this to realistically happen, not only on the corporate side, but more so on the private side, just, corporate's too complex. We can get into that forever. Just on the private side, I think this is a solution that needs to come from the industry. You know what I mean?
Right.
They need to make it more feasible that if a user does detect an infection, that they have this ability to do a reimage without losing their personal data. Like Apple with their time machine. If you hook up an external drive,
well, I'm pretty sure Windows still has Windows backup, and Windows 8 has Windows backup, and doesn't it still?
But don't they do it locally?
Yes.
Yeah. So the problem with that is if you get a rootkit and you don't crush partitions, you reimage.
Well, they can do it to external drives.
Could be you could do it on external drive.
Yeah.
So, but it's more the awareness. I think it's not a hot topic. Carbonite, recently. But I think as a whole, the industry, I think,
any
needs
kind
to
of backup.
really,
I mean, carbonite is good if you're portable like I am, because I'm not always attached to something to back up to, like a drive. So it's just nice to have it just do it on its own. And it could be there's other things other than carbonite do very similar things, but like the Mac Pro it's sitting out there obviously has a turbo attached to it, and I run Time Machine on it,
right?
Because it never moves.
Yeah.
So. Time Machine, just a really good feature.
Yeah. I mean, there's issues with it, but for the average person, it works.
It's easy.
It works fine.
And when they mean wipe your drive, they mean wipe your drive. Don't do a restore point.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta blow all partitions away and basically clean slate it.
Most new computers come with either a drive partition on them to reimage, or a way to burn a DVD that you can do that with.
Right.
And it doesn't take long to do that typically. It's generally pretty quick, as long as you have your data back. I mean, you got to go through the pain of reinstalling all your applications and all that stuff. Right. But so many people just take it out of the box and already have what's on it. I know, that's like my family. They get it out of the box. They don't put much else on it. Maybe put Skype or something on it.
Yeah.
But even with Windows 8, Skype's installed now, isn't it?
Right.
So, I mean, all that stuff's installed by default. So it's not much of a pain to install things anymore.
Yeah.
I just, I think that people like, I'm trying not to promote, but like Geek Squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Geek Squad tries to make their money off of the fact that you don't know how to do it, so you do have to bring it to them. When I think that's a disservice when you have things like the Wise Guys or Geek Squad, or we have a few local companies here like CES, where they should be teaching people how to protect themselves by making sure they do backups. Yeah. So when they do come into them, a reimage is really all they need, and they can do a reimage and then push their personal data back on, and you're good to go. And I think you'll win more people over if you start to show that I'm here to really help you.
Right.
And that's an industry change that needs to happen.
Absolutely.
So what is the answer to this question? I've asked it a lot. People will come say, "Oh, I can't boot up my computer," and I'll say, "Do you take backups?" How often?
No.
It's almost always no. Actually, it's not even no. It's
what is
then you can just see it across their face saying,
blank stare.
"Oh."
It's like, is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Did they set that up before I pulled it out of the box?
Yeah. A couple good things in that article is basically it says, if you look in a registry, you can basically see the malware infections that have happened throughout the past. And I thought that was a very good point in the article. File association hijacking, which we see all the time with fake AV. So, that registry doesn't get cleaned and can allow a backdoor for you.
Yeah, and a lot of IT pros, sad to say, get a little nervous about touching the registry, because unless you really know how to navigate the hives, you can just blow that box up.
Yeah,
just really blow that box up. But
and then the PC doesn't come back, and then you ask if there's backups, and then we know what the answer is.
But between the three of us, you get somebody that knows what you're doing. There have been several times that I found an infection just because of the fact that I know what to look at the registry.
Right. I mean, you get good at that. I mean, the average person's not going to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's
So I put this article in here about Google Doodle celebrates Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Remember, don't panic. And I think I put this after this article because we just said, well, as long as you have backups, but don't panic is the is the feature here. They said the same thing that the previous article says. Reimaging infected computers is much quicker and more reliable these days, but it's often overkill. So you can still take ages and be pretty inconvenient for your users. So, it's the same kind of thing here. Don't panic. It's probably not as bad as you think, but you can always reimage if you have to.
And I gotta say, there are apps out there like Norton Ghost and things like that. So
old reliable.
Yeah. Where you don't just go back to your out-of-box disks, or you don't go to your recovery partitions. Once you've established your baseline normal computing,
it's a pain. I mean, Norton Ghost is probably the best way to do that. Yeah. But the average person's not going to do that.
That's correct.
And that's what I said. That's where we need a shift. You know, and you get a product that is more user friendly, end user computer friendly. Not tech, but end user friendly. Where they can establish that snapshot and create their custom image.
Yeah. Norton Ghost, the evolution is incredible. Still for techies. Still, not for the faint of heart.
And if you're on a Mac, you can do it with other free tools on the Mac as well that are work very similar to what Ghost does.
Exactly. So. Yeah. But the old days of Norton Ghost, you really had to think about it. And if you made a mistake,
it was gone.
It was gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely do a backup before you do anything.
John found this article, and this is a new feed. We haven't gone to them before. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Next Web.
Yes.
Have we feeded from them before?
I think so.
Yeah. But we found some great stuff on there today, and this was actually something we were working with. So this is a real live attack that's happening now in the wild. Despite its efforts to fix vulnerabilities, Yahoo's mail users continue to report hacking incidents. And it's pretty bad. We've been monitoring it for a couple of days now, and it's out there.
So you got to think about this. So what we're seeing is numbers in the hundreds, and that's our view.
Right.
That's not the global views. So for us to see the numbers in the hundreds tells you this, and I'm not talking 100, 200, in the hundreds.
Multiple hundreds.
Yeah. So where Yahoo Mail users have been seeing that their accounts have been broken into, and this was probably first recorded late January 2013. There was an XSS exploit within the Yahoo Mail capabilities that was not only openly exploited, but it was recorded and posted on YouTube.
Oh, great.
And it taught everybody how to do it. And he even put in his notes, take this and use it.
Yeah. Now, I played this.
We watched the video.
2 days ago.
We found it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we started getting a whole bunch of them.
We were getting bombed, and these weren't botnet accounts created to spam. These were actual compromise accounts spreading the vulnerability. So within the compromise account, not only will it steal your contacts, but it will also check recently sent and your inbox, and grab addresses from any email out of sent, inbox, and contact.
Yeah. Craft
an email with just a link, and the link is a bogus link. So the link reported in the article that they've seen since January is an MSNBC. The link that we recently went after today was Fox News. News. And they did a real good job of spoofing it. But at quick glance, you're like, oh, okay, I'm legitimately there. But then within a couple seconds, you go, yeah, this page is really hokey.
They got it close, but not exact.
Yeah. So you'll start to pick up on the small things. But what it does is it tricks you long enough that what happens is that when you redirect to the fake page, your Yahoo Mail account, if you're actively logged into it, is immediately hacked. Immediately hacked. Yeah. So the compromised accounts are being locked out. And then when the users try to regain access to some of their accounts, They are given a bogus number. When they call the bogus number, they reach a bogus help desk where they speak very poor English. And for $100, we will restore your account. So that's the additional component that they're seeing since the last January. So, Yahoo says that they have secured the vulnerability and that they are safe, and that users need to use a stronger password when securing their account. And that's what we're seeing. The volume we're seeing, I can tell you that's not the case. The volume being reported by the article will also agree. They go to give you a timeline. It's great. If you go in the notes and you read the article, it goes from day reported from January 7th, and it actually gives examples. It tells you the exploit, the XSS vulnerability that's used, the person that actually posted the video. Then it goes on to talk about who discovered it, that it was reported to Yahoo, that Yahoo said that they quote-unquote had corrected it, that the compromise was continued to be caught and seen and reported in the wild, and then reported again to Yahoo. And I think what's most upsetting is that Yahoo recently reiterated its stance, saying that the XSS flaw, or the cross-site scripting flaw, reported to Yahoo has been fixed, and we continue to aggressively investigate any reports of a compromised account exhibiting anomalous behavior. But that they're committed to protecting their users and their data, that we strongly urge the users to use stronger passwords, change them more frequently. So they're going after this as it's a weak password issue. When the research shows that if you're actively logged into your Yahoo account and you click to the fake link, gone. Your account is gone. They got control of it. And then they will strip the inbox, they'll strip the sent box, they'll strip the contacts list, and try to continue to spread itself.
Now, I heard you give some good recommendations for Yahoo passwords if you think you're compromised. You had a schedule out. So if you recommended that they change their password right away to stop the spam, and then go back and change their password.
If an account has been compromised once, chances are they will immediately try you again once they realize that the password has been changed. So changing your password once is just to fix the existing issue. Now you want to go into preventative mode. So I recommend that they recycle that new password within that next week, within the next 7 days, because chances are when somebody comes back to access your account and to send out another campaign, and they realize they no longer have access, they're going to try to hack your account again. So I recommended that a couple of the users that we had run across, that one, they immediately changed their password, and then within the next 7 days that they change it one more time, and to include the security questions. Really, once someone has access to any of your accounts, it's not just the password. It's really easy to drop that little back door in there by changing one or two of your security questions, because they have access to your account. They're there.
Right.
Let's give myself a back door, because industry wide everybody says change your password. Industry wide nobody says change your security questions.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Or use fake answers too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Change your fake answers.
That's
so
right.
we seen this actually 3 times this week.
And we were definitely on the upside of the curve on this one, discovering it, because when we started, there was just a trickle. In fact, I was the 5th user or 5th viewer on that
On the article.
On the article, yeah. So, and then by the time just a couple of days pass, and then there's quite a few people who've already viewed it.
Yep. And the writers and the owners of the site, they also watch what's trending on Google searches. And this was big at first when it was first discovered in January, and then when Yahoo released in the report that they remediated it, the interest fell off. But what happened was the attacks didn't stop. So they said they noticed a significant increase in people searching again. My specifically Yahoo Mail account has been hacked. How do I fix it? So Yahoo is, I don't know, I not there. I don't speak to them, but in my opinion, 3 months is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And three months of the same behavior is not fixed.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's because they're making everybody that was working at home come into the office now. I think that's probably part of the problem for Yahoo.
They keep changing the design of the site too. So.
Yeah. So for show notes from this show, contact details and more, go to the securitydecoded.tv website, where you can get show notes and watch all the other episodes of Security Decoded. While there, check out the other great shows at TechZen TV. We love to hear from our viewers and listeners. You can contact us via Twitter and email. You can leave us a voicemail. And we've had a great show with lots of great show notes, and definitely check out those show notes.
Yeah. Now, before you get to your question, I actually want to show you guys something. So I'm going to bring up my computer.
Okay.
And a couple weeks ago, we were going to do the Harlem Shake thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So have you seen the Easter egg?
No.
Okay, so if you go to YouTube, and you have to type it in. You can't, if you do the Harlem, you can't select it. You got to type the whole thing in. And keep watching the page. See the YouTube starting to move?
Yeah.
The Harlem Shake.
Keep watching. It gets better. And there's actually, I think there's music playing. No.
That's pretty good. I like finding Google's Easter eggs. They're really good about dropping their little ones around.
We might even have to change the name of this episode, actually.
That was the... Yeah. We were talking about doing that before.
Right.
One was popular, and then...
Yeah. So my question of the week is, there is a technology that's going to help us eventually with security. We just don't really know what it is. So if you could envision something or create something, what would it be? Now, or something that's on the horizon, either one. I think that quantum computing is going to be the security savior here. So if you can beat the hackers, you can do it by processing it really fast, instantaneously. And that's what quantum computer is going to do. It's just we have to get the price point down to something that's usable.
But you also got to think about a quantum computer will allow them to reverse passwords.
That's right.
That faster.
Yeah. But you always have the edge because you have that split second. You send the information, and there's your split second right there. And you should be done your transaction by then. So hopefully they won't figure out a way to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they'll crack somebody's password. That'll be it. Yeah.
Well, have you seen the machines they're building now with all the graphics cards in them?
Yeah.
That are using to crack these passwords?
That's right. Yeah.
It's a whole rack full of video cards.
Right.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike? What technology are you looking for, or what do you think that's going to be out there? Or
I think we're headed in the right direction. I think the devices that watch, I'm going to use FireEye as an example, but there's lots of other devices like FireEye that are watching the traffic. They basically are running what you download. So it sees what you download or what attachments you get, puts it in a VM and runs it. And when your quantum computer idea is where that comes in, because it can do that really fast.
Yeah.
And it happens so fast that you don't really notice the difference as a user.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that slow to you. I think as they go forward with technology, it's going to help a lot. And they need to be more behavior-based than pattern-based, which is what FireEye is working on, because it tells you what it does and explodes it, and it knows what's just questionable things. I think that's the direction that we need to head, because and I think it needs to eventually go down to the computer level, not necessarily the network level,
right?
The client level,
yeah.
The client level.
Yeah.
And I know there's people working on that stuff too. So I think that's what's going to help us, because the patterns aren't going to work.
Right. Well, we see all the Trend has their smart pattern out, and it's the same thing. It looks more for behavior. It's got the signature patterns there too, but really behavior. So I think we're going to see a lot of it.
I mean, that was one of the topics from RSA where typically security is I'm going to make the super egg. I'm going to make the hardest shell in the world, and you're not going to crack me.
Right. Well, that's what they always say. Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside.
That's right.
And I think one of the biggest messages that came out from RSA is security from the inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about that 2 weeks ago. I think we said that.
Something similar to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
UTMs. There was a really good push for UTMs, but they just weren't effective because they crippled the network. You get too many modules in, a lot of them still signature based, and then as you pass through each module, you pass another layer of complexity within the unit itself that you can take a 1 gig network and almost crush it in half. I really think that you learn through your mistakes. So I think they backed off from that too quickly. I think they need to learn from their mistakes, and I see a lot of potential in UTMs because of the fact that it's no longer perimeter defense.
Right.
So why spend the money on an AV vendor, a heuristics or behavior-based vendor, a email vendor, when I can do it all in one? I can get a firewall, I can get an IDS, I can get an AV, and maintain my network throughput, and then take the money that I save by not having 3 different vendors, by not having 3 different support contracts, and invest it in end user education.
And a lot of that goes towards Dennis, this thing about the unified threat management stuff, because you need, the quantum computing, because you need that speed to tear everything apart.
That's right.
There's UTMs out there, but you can only, I don't know if I've ever seen one that can do everything.
Yeah.
Because if you turn everything on, it just starts falling to its knees.
That's right.
Exactly.
So. Yeah.
And the funny thing is they give you a list, and they literally tell you, if you run just the firewall, you'll get this throughput.
Yeah, that's right.
You enable this module, you now get this. You enable this module, you now get this.
Right. And for a smaller company, that may be fine.
Yeah.
But when you get to these big enterprises, they just don't cut it.
And that's why I think they really, their first couple shots at it, and there's still some units out there that are trying to, sell the UTM model, but it's just, right now it's not practical. It stovepipes your network too hard.
Right.
It really stovepipes your network too hard, and if they got more efficient at that, and what I mean by end user education, it's not your onboarding orientation. Hey, here's a good password. It's a continuous effort. If you don't do a continuous effort, your users will slip.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you said about technology of protecting us in the future. Mm-hmm. There's a new one that's coming that I think is going to be a privacy issue. In fact, I think that some places have already banned them, even though they're not even out yet. And that's Google Glass.
Yeah.
Because it's capturing images.
You don't know when somebody's capturing.
That's right.
So I've heard of gyms saying you're not going to allow them in here. Movie theaters aren't going to allow them in here.
That's right, because of copyright issues.
You steal movies, but see,
and it's not even out yet, and people are already saying.
But somebody's actually already run into a problem with that. Facebook did with facial recognition software, because it violates privacy laws in some foreign countries. So Facebook actually got in a little bit of trouble about that.
How does Android get around that? Because Android has the face unlock feature.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know that.
Well, I guess it's because Facebook did it indiscriminately. It looked at everybody's pictures and says, hey, I think it's this person. As opposed to Android, you're like, this is my face. I'm inputting
so it
my
works
face.
like Apple's iPhoto does.
Yeah.
Right.
iPhoto goes through pictures and says, is this so-and-so? And
right.
say yes.
Yeah. And they were doing it for possible tagging. So anybody that uploaded an image to Facebook, Facebook was looking at it and then started comparing it against all the accounts saying, hey, this might be this person. Do you want to tag them?
Right.
And that actually violated privacy laws in several countries, and they had to stop that.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. This week I've been hearing a lot of talk about Google Glass. Because,
we had that story last week on it, too.
Oh, yeah. Google I was coming up in May. So they're like, what are they going to announce about Google Glass? And they think people are starting to see them more around. Like somebody recently saw one on an airplane somewhere. They were going, and they said they sat down beside somebody, didn't have the guts to ask them to look at them or anything.
Right.
That's definitely a privacy concern, because you don't know when somebody's recording. There's no red light.
Yeah.
You just.
And is it a privacy concern and a security concern? I mean, you have somebody.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a security concern. I was more taking the human side and saying privacy concern.
Right.
There's
what brought up this week.
And there's things like that. It's a very unique looking device right now.
Yeah.
Very identifiable.
Yeah, but you wear glasses, so you don't think anything about that.
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't.
But I mean, but somebody can tell. You can tell what the Google glasses are because like.
Oh yeah.
But wait till it progresses to a point where it looks like.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
That's
right.
right.
They were joking this week about eventually being contact lenses.
Yeah.
I mean that's a little far fetched, but ultimately it could happen.
Well, the far fetched sometimes turns into reality.
Yeah. I mean, but my whole thing this week was this week was a lot of buzz about privacy. Walking into a locker room. Things like that. So.
It's funny. We've seen this in science fiction. We had that Hitchhiker's Guide article, but there's lots of things like that in Star Trek and in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
That's the one with the kind of reminds me of the Google glasses.
Well, you said Star Trek. That's funny because the guy who played Geordi LaForge.
Yeah.
LeVar Burton said, "Mine looked better."
Yeah, that's right.
That was something that was on this week too. I saw.
But those guys never had any problem with privacy or security concerns with their technology, did they?
No.
Yeah. Well, that's it for us. That's another episode of Security Decoded, and we'll see you next week.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
For show notes for this show, contacts, and more, go to the TechZen.tv website where you can get show notes for all of our shows. We love to hear from our viewers and listeners. We have an email, a Twitter, and a phone number where you can contact us for each show. For details, visit the TechZen.tv website and get the show details. You can also make a video and upload it somewhere like YouTube or Vimeo, and then just send us a link. You never know, you may see your video in a future show. You can get all of our shows delivered automatically to your favorite device by going to your favorite podcast website like iTunes and subscribing. Each of our shows also has a YouTube channel you can subscribe to get regular updates. Our shows are also available on most internet radio networks like Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. You can also watch and listen to our shows on Xbox, TiVo, and Roku. You can even find us on your Zune.